In Nigeria, there's always been this clamor for good governance, and good governance can take different shapes. And of course, it does appear that there are so many gaps within the governance process here in the country. As some reporting recently has highlighted, that there are governors in Nigeria today that have developed this culture or tradition of governing their various states from a distance. And the distance usually is here in Abuja, the federal capital, where so many of these governors run their states from the federal capital, leaving the people to feel a sense that there is a disconnection between the led and the leaders. And that is what we're spotlighting today, looking at the impact that this particular phenomenon is likely going to have on the governance process, especially in those states, and what actually that signpost for the quality of political leadership that Nigerians are exposed to. And to help us understand and navigate some of these talking points, we have joined us in the studio this morning, Lead Director, Center for Social Justice, Eze Onyekbere, joining us on the program. Mr. Onyekbere is a lawyer, an author, a civil activist, and a social commentator. Good morning to you, and thank you very much for joining us on Daybreak.
My pleasure.
Right. First of all, just give me your initial reaction to this phenomenon that we have some governors who are in the habit of only visiting their states occasionally, once or twice a month, even as they're the chief executive officer of those states.
Well, this is the phenomenon we are calling absentee leadership. We have it at the level of the governors, and in many states of the federation, we also have it at the level of local government chairmen who simply live at the state capital and then visit the local government from time to time. And it may interest you to note that the major times these people visit is when statutory allocations from Abuja have been shared, and they now have to go to the state or the local government to be able to, share it out between themselves, their cronies, and maybe pay civil servants. So that scenario, the first thing it shows is that that person was not qualified in the first place to assume that position, because leadership is about being in front of those you are leading, feeling what they feel, hearing what they hear, seeing what they see, smelling what they smell. So you become immersed in what happens to them, and what happens to them happens to you. And that is the only way you can have that natural feeling that there is the need for change. And when you are changing that, you are also changing your own status and changing their own. But if you are living in a different reality, in a different world, in a different environment, so if people are saying we need this or that, to you is the complaint of some people who may be in the camp of your political detractors or enemies. So you wouldn't give it that real acceptance that this is a situation that you need to work on or to change. So my first reaction is that those gentlemen and women were not qualified to lead, and it was a huge mistake. If the people actually voted for them, if they rigged their way to power, you don't blame the people. But if the people actually voted for them, it was a huge mistake. And that mistake should be corrected at the earlier opportunity, either in 2027 or ginger the legislators to make sure the person is asked, because this is like exceptional depravity. If you feel too big to live in the same environment with those you are supposed to be leading, that means you're not qualified to be their leader.
And how long has this been happening? Because it depends on who you ask. There are some states that would say, well, our governors are usually always around. And then there are some states that say, what does it matter if it does not stop governance or the governance process from continuing? How long has this phenomenon been a thing?
Well, the reports we're having is that it may have started from the beginning of this Fourth Republic since 1999. The idea that people simply hang around Abuja and visit their states. So the question is not whether governance is going on. The question is about what quality of governance is going on in the absence of the person who should be leading. You recall that in our constitution, if the president or the governor wants to be out of the state, he normally should inform the legislature and maybe hand over to the deputy to say, I'll be away on sick leave, I'm going for holiday for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or 1 month or 2. And officially power is handed over to somebody else. Now, if you operate from Abuja, and your state is, say, Imo, Zamfara, or Borno, or anywhere, when you are leaving, are you handing over to the deputy governor? The answer is no. So it's not a question of, oh, you can stay in London and be making phone calls. That is not within the contemplation of the Constitution.
No matter how effective it is, you think it's an aberration?
It's not just an aberration. It's an offense for which a reasonable legislature should ask the governor, separate the governor from that office, for which somebody who claims to be a governor should be impeached. If I were sitting in the legislature and you consistently, you simply walk in, spend a few days, walk out again, and when the allocation comes, that's enough ground to impeach a governor. So it's not about whether the state is being governed, it's about the quality of governance. Unless that person is telling us that his presence will make no meaning or make no impact. So in the first place, we are saying there was no need for you to be governor. Because when you give somebody an assignment, you have to supervise the person. You have to go to the sites, look at the quality of routes. Sometimes you could go disguise, sneak into where a teacher is teaching to even know the quality of things knowledge is impacting to students. You can get into the hospitals to know whether the doctors are reporting on time. Various other things. And you need to be meeting with the people who elected you. You need to have meetings with the commissioners. Normally you should have state executive council meetings every week. You need to meet with your SAs. They need to report to you on what they are doing. Yeah, this is delegated authority because you are the person elected. They are merely helping you. So when they do an assignment, they should report back to you.
Mr. Ekwe, what do you say to people who say that in today's world, we have all the technology to do all of these things virtually from afar, effectively also?
No, it's not about virtual. There's that human touch. If you award a contract for the rehabilitation of a road, how are you going to do it virtually? You ask people to use television and they put it on a tape and get to you so that you watch it on your laptop? You cannot do that. If you get information, like I said, that doctors, you have very few doctors in your hospitals, and many of them are now running their private clinics that are supposed to resume by 8 and close for by 3, another person comes in. How are you going to, if you want to sneak in on them, by say 9:30, 10, to find out who are supposed to be on duty, 5 of them, how many are actually here? These are not things you can do from afar. Yes, technology has helped. Somebody can write a report, send to you by email. You can read, make a comment, and ask him to correct it. But that is envisaged when you are unavoidably absent. There are things you must do in person. Even the confidence is like in your home today. As a father, each time you travel, there is a way your children or your wife will be feeling. There's that void. The time you come back, there's that, oh, the father of the house or the mother of the house is back. There is a role, even your presence alone plays. So it is beyond whether you are signing the checks, whether you are reading reports and saying good or bad. It is because you need to understand what is going on practically by yourself and not by what a third party reports to you.
Okay. Let's get some more perspective to this conversation. Joining us now virtually is Dr. Abdurrahman Abu Hamis, who is a political scientist and a lecturer at the University of Abuja. Doctor, good morning. Thank you most kindly for joining us. Let me get your initial thoughts on this topic and how this phenomenon has become prevalent over the past couple of years as Nigerians continue to express their displeasure over how their governors ceremonially show up in their state capitals a couple of times in a month, and it leaves much to be desired, to say the least.
Thank you for having me. I've listened attentively to my brother in the studio, who has done justice to most of the issues that have been raised. I'm of the opinion that some other times, where the governor is or where the leader is immaterial. For the fact that technology has made everything almost easy. You could be anywhere and you could lead your people. But we're talking about a developing country like Nigeria, where there are enormous challenges of development, where trust is in short supply. Uh, Elected representative of the people are always eager to steal the resources of the people, even when the governor is on ground and is supervising. Therefore, it requires the governor to be on ground for the following reasons. One, it is not all about allocation of resources. It's not about being on ground for being on ground sake, but you need to supervise your subordinates, your aides. You need to supervise projects. You need to talk to people. You need to feel the pulse of the people to be able to gauge what is happening and how to approach the myriad of issues and challenges that needed to be solved. From that very perspective, it requires the governor to always be on ground, to be in touch with the people, to consult widely in terms of policies and programs of government, and then to ensure that there is value for money and the directives that is being given are being carried out. So to that extent, the governor needed to be on ground in order to achieve all of this. In some instances, you find some governors being totally absent. They only go to their state once there are allocation or when there are serious issues that requires their attention. But that they're in touch with the reality on ground and that they're feeling the pulse of their people is something that you cannot really say. So to that extent, they may not get the kind of result they would love to get, especially, as I said earlier on, where you have issues around trust, where you cannot just trust people and then you go to sleep that they are going to deliver. Even when you are with them, they circumvent the process. They tend to deliver low quality, low grade jobs for their own interests. So you need to be on ground to be able to check some of these things so that you can deliver results.
Right. And Doctor, do you think there's a correlation between this phenomenon and the federal system of government we practice, where it looks like the governors who, according to this report, are predominantly from low-income states, always go to Abuja cap in hand, looking for resources, and that explains why they're usually not always on ground to govern their states?
Yes, that may be one of the reasons. Another reason, again, is that the quality of life they are used to enjoying, they cannot get it in their states. And they want to govern their people, but they don't want to make the necessary sacrifices.
It appears we have a challenge with the connection to Dr. Amisu. We're going to work on that to get him back to finish his line of thought, which I think is also a very good, important point. So if you can just, build on that.
There was a point he was talking about, the quality of life they are used to enjoy, maybe in Lagos and Abuja.
Right.
They cannot get it at their state capital. Now, this is fundamental. You were elected to reenact that beautiful environment you saw in Abuja, in your state. What makes Abuja beautiful? The wide roads and boulevards, maybe electricity, maybe internet and telephone services. This is exactly the reason why you ask the people to vote for you. And so it should not be the reason why you go away. The more you sit in that your state capital, the more you try to build up those basic infrastructure you are used to, not just for yourself alone, but for the benefit of your entire state. Now, even something I missed, which was also very fundamental, if you see a job advertisement in Daily Trust or any newspaper, they tell you the qualifications for the job. You have a first degree, a master's or PhD in political science, or you're a lecturer or so. They tell you location, Abuja, location, Owerri, location, Zamfara. When I came in here, you had a correspondent in Owerri who was telling you about the situation after the call off of the strike. He has to be in situ. He has to be there. He must be in Owerri to be able to report to you. So that's the location. So the location of the job of a governor, for which he not only applied, he begged the people, is the state capital. So any attempt to relocate outside the location, assuming you are hired here, and they told you you have to be doing these programs every morning, you insist you want to go to Kano and be doing it through WhatsApp and Zoom. How do you think the owners of this station will react to you? So that's exactly what those governors are doing.
Right. And I think we have Dr. Hamisu back online now. So if you can get back to Dr. Hamisu and get him to finish his line of thought. Dr. Hamisu, apparently, the signal has been lost yet again. So we're still going to work at that to see what happens next. But also, part of the question I asked him was if there was a correlation between this phenomenon and this federal system of government that we practice, where the governors have to come to Abuja, mostly because they need the resources that is always apparently available only here in Abuja to do that, to get that. Because from the report, just to finish the question, from the report, the governors that are predominantly in the habit of, governing their state from Abuja are usually governors from low-income states.
Now, let's look at it this way. The statutory allocation, the revenue sharing formula, is already fixed. What state A will get, you can work it out at the beginning of the year based on what is available. So you don't need to be physically present. It's not like there's something you need to come and be taken small and then so that you can
transfer to your lobby state.
No, you don't.
Some contracts,
you're
for some allocations.
For anything. You understand what I'm saying? Even if you need to see the president, you don't see the president every day. If you need to see the Minister of Works, it's once in a while you book an appointment to see him or he comes around. It's even better that Minister of Works visits your state. You take him through those bad roads, bad federal roads that are in deplorable condition. And his honorable minister, you can see, each time I talk, it's like I'm saying something. The honorable minister himself will now want to say, okay, there's no money, but at least let me take one. I've seen enough. So that's the situation. What they're doing, I liken it to our presidents who like traveling for all kinds of meetings. And some of them outside Nigeria, if you ask them, they say they're looking for foreign investors. And I laugh. The work of looking for foreign investors or getting investors is not done at an international meeting where you show up. Yes, it's good from time to time you show up. These gentlemen and ladies, these presidents, these investors have their embassies here. The ambassadors give daily and weekly reports of the security situation, inflation. As MBS is releasing this report, they're putting in a diplomatic pouch and sending back home. Factories that are closing and relocating, they have it. Number of people killed by terrorists, Boko Haram, they have it.
They already know what you're going
to tell them.
So
they already know what you are going to tell them. So all you need to do is to sit back at home and fix the problems. I was shocked. Let me give you a practical instance. Some days ago, our president was in Saudi Arabia, begging the Saudis to come and invest in Nigeria and telling them Nigeria is open for business, don't mind the corruption stories, it's a thing of the past. And why did I think it was ridiculous? What does Saudi Arabia have that gave them the wealth and the riches to summon all African leaders, and you are going there like little children summoned by the head teacher, and you are begging? It's the same crude oil we have in the Niger Delta that they have. They sat down, they dig up between 9 and 12 million barrels a day. OPEC just gave us 1.7, 1.8. You can't even dig it up. Or by the time you dig up, between the leaders and the boys in the creeks, they share the crude oil before it is even sold. Pre-APC days, I'm sorry to say this, The crude oil, they used to bring it out 2.1 million barrels a day. And when they bring it out, sell it, people can now want to see what they will steal. But this one, we're not bringing it out. So instead of sitting back and giving yourself a target to move from, say, 1.3, 1.4 million barrels a day to 2.53, if you double that investment, if you double it and get 3 million barrels a day, at the current price that crude oil is selling, say around 80, 90, the CBN will have enough money to defend the value of the Naira, to say Naira should go for 400, 500, and it stays there. So what I'm trying to say in essence is that this idea of looking for investors in Abuja doesn't work. You need to stay in your state and do the hard lifting job. And from time to time, you come to Abuja or you invite the big men of Abuja. In fact, it works more if the big men who make the decisions in Abuja will come to your state, and in the night, the electricity is off and the Minister of Power is there. Minister of Power maybe enjoys 15, 16 hours of electricity in Abuja, and he comes to your state and notices that you are getting only 4 to 5 this thing. Your demand will be more meaningful from that context.
Right, okay. Fortunately, I think we have Dr. Hamisu back to continue our conversation. Dr. Hamisu, if you can just continue on with regards to your line of thought a little earlier.
Oh, okay. So my brother is had already drilled down on what I was trying to say. What I was trying to say is that majority of these persons are non-business persons. They are government contractors, big business persons before they venture into government, and then sometimes their expectations in government are not met. Part of the expectation is the environment. The environment they are used to enjoying in Abuja, Porako, Lagos, elsewhere is lacking in their own locality. And then they lack the patience to sit, to create the kind of environment they want to see. So they tend to escape from such environment by visiting Abuja regularly. Some other times, again, they're in Abuja to run their personal businesses, which is always in conflict with the Constitution, because some of them go into office and they don't relinquish the businesses they are doing. On paper, they will say they've relinquished the businesses they are doing, but in reality, they continue to do their business, which is conflict of interest. And it has always interfered in governance to the extent that the priority of some of the governors are their own personal interest, their future ambition, the kind of trajectory and the pedestal they want to ride on. So this usually overrides the collective interest of the people to the extent that they are willing to sacrifice what they needed to do for their people to enjoy a good life for their own interest, either politically, economically, or socially. So all of this combined has continued to deny the people the quality of leadership they needed to enjoy. As a leader, you are not just there to give directives, you are also there to learn from the people, to learn from the process by engaging, and then learning from the people to be able to reform, to be able to build, to be able to direct. So once there is no effective supervision arising from knowing what the people want, knowing their challenges, then the government and the governance system will continue to float. What you have will be empty promises that will not deliver anything tangible. And then 4 years will be spent. And then this same person will come back and say he or she must be voted for continuity. And if the people say no, hell will be let loose. So I want to say that as a nascent nation that is grappling with so many challenges that require thinking, that require meticulous planning, that requires that all ends must be on deck, the governors are supposed to be stable in their states, because nobody forced them to accept this leadership position. They are the ones that begged people to vote them. So what they needed to develop their states is in their state. We're not saying that there are no other components that are coming from elsewhere, but that you must not be in Abuja. Abuja is not the only location where investors can visit. Investors can come to your state. Let them see the reality of your people. And then you'll be able to understand the solutions that are needed. When you are with your people, you understand them, they understand you, they know where you want to go to and where you want to take them to. It's better for you and safer for you than to remain in Abuja and continue to rule your state via WhatsApp or email.
Right. Is there a guarantee, Dr. Amisu, that if they stay in their states 247 and occasionally come to Abuja for the NEC meeting or for some of these other big events that they cannot miss, is there a guarantee that they will perform? And also, is there a connection between this absenteeism with poor performance?
Yes. You see, let us be frank with ourselves. Most of the people that go into government pretending to govern their people are there to have access to state resources. That is just the most important thing that we needed to have at the back of our minds. And this explains why persons that cannot use 100 million to buy utility vehicles for themselves will use 200 million to buy bulletproof cars for themselves. And when they are leaving, they auction it for themselves. Somebody enters into government with nothing, and then that person lives as multi-millionaire or billionaire, buying properties all over the place. This is what is killing governance in Nigeria. For every new houses, for every new cars that you've seen, for every weddings, societal weddings that you see people in government conducting, you should be rest assured that the people have been denied healthcare delivery, they have been denied education, they have been denied good roads, they have been denied other social amenities and infrastructure that's supposed to assist them to develop their potentials so that they can meet their needs. Honestly, if you are in your state and you want to govern your state and deliver a result, I bet you you're going to do that because the people will force you to work. Your commissioners, those that are willing to work, will have access to you. If you are available, they can take you around to say, look, Mr. Governor, you need to see what I'm talking about. You need to see the state of our roads. You need to see the state of our healthcare delivery system, especially the primary healthcare. And then they will be able to convince you by making you to see firsthand the challenges that the people are facing. Even the people themselves will have access to it. But let me even say that most of the governors that you see that are even running to Abuja, to Lagos, some other times they go to UK, US, they are equally trying to run away from their people. They're trying to run away from their responsibilities because they feel that the people are disturbing them. And so you cannot govern effectively if you cannot take people's complaint. And that is why you are there. You are the leader, and then you are supposed to listen to them carefully to see how you can intervene and create positive values in their lives. So there is a correlation between being absent and good governance. Because, for instance, if I ask you to give me, there was this incident that happened in one of the states in the Northeast where the governor gave a contractor, I think, a contract to build, I think, a school or a public space. And then the governor went to supervise the project. And when he got there, he saw the quality of the blocks that were used. He wasn't satisfied. He said they should get him a hammer. He got a hammer, and then just a little heat, the blocks crumbled. And he said, this is unacceptable. Assuming this governor was in Abuja and a picture of such building was taken and then sent to him on WhatsApp. He sees a fine building with the paint and the color that the WhatsApp was give him, and he's okay with it. And then he pays. Tomorrow, you hear that this particular building has collapsed, and then lives were lost. The resources of the people that were used were lost. So that is why it is important as a governor to remain in your state so that you can be able to supervise what is happening. Not that you are being reported to in such a manner that you cannot verify, you cannot even say anything because you are not on ground to see what is happening. This is exactly the point that we are making. We are not saying that if you're not around, you cannot rule your state effectively. But the question is, what is the quality of the lieutenant that you have in your state that will do the job for you, and then you'll be rest assured that you can go to sleep? Because what has been happening is the abuse of trust that people are engaged in. I trust you as my commissioner of works, and I give you mandate to do ABCD, and then you go connive with contractors to do very poor quality jobs so that you can get your 10%, get your 15%, and then you ride big cars, you buy properties in Dubai, and then you continue to celebrate the mercies of God over you as if you are the only person that is close to God. So we need the governor to be on ground because of the trust deficit and the penchant to abuse trust in Nigeria in governance. Right. If everybody will be the same, I give you mandate to deliver 10 classrooms per month, and you are delivering 10 quality classrooms per month, and I've seen that you are delivering them whether I'm away or I'm not on ground, or I'm on ground, then I can be rest assured to go to sleep. But when you know that even when you are around, these guys are scheming to cut corners, they are trying to inflate pains on the people and the rest, and so you just need to take the responsibility to lead by supervising.
Okay.
Without supervision, there will be no good governance.
Right. A lot to unpack there. Yeah. But also, one of the things that stands out is the fact that you get a sense that there's this growing disconnection between the leaders and the people. And sometimes you feel like they might be in the same book, as in, say, we're all in the same Nigeria, but we're not on the same page. We don't live the same lives. And you get a sense that sometimes they're trying to run away from the people they lead because the complaints are becoming too much, perhaps, for them to bear. But also, give me your take as to how we politically got here, in the sense that we used to have leaders that don't mind staying in the States 24/7. But now, whenever they visit, whenever some governors visit their state, it's almost like a ceremony because they've not been around for quite some time. So whenever they land back in their states, it's a big ceremony. You have people there to welcome them and things like that. And we're seeing a normalization of this new trend now. Give me a sense of, how you think we got to this point.
Just before that, let me state that the job of a governor is a 24/7 job. It's a full-time job. It's not a part-time job that you can do from somewhere else. Like I did say, the location is your state capital and within your state. Now, it is the leadership recruitment process that has led us to a situation that is throwing up people who do not have the right qualities, who do not have the love of their people, who have other ambitions other than serving at the back of their mind, but they are brought up to the people as those who will serve them well, as those who will lead them well. And once you give them power, they now do what they like. So the leadership recruitment process, that even if you have to win a primaries, you may be likely have to get the backing of the governor, whether you are a good man or a bad man, and then you need tons and tons of money. It becomes whoever has the biggest quantum of cash. So you see somebody spending billions for primaries, spending another set of billions in the main election. To become a governor, he could have possibly spent 10, 15 billion. He begins to see the whole thing as a merchandising process. It's like you went to China, okay, to buy goods. You bought containers of goods. When you come back, you look at the cost of your going to China, how much you spent on the goods, and you fix a little profit. So you could ask your boys to be selling the goods. It's no longer relevant whether you are there when they are selling it. All you know is that when the allocation comes, you come and take what you think is due to you, and then your business is no longer about supervising what is happening in the state or ensuring that good quality of work is done. So that is what has led us to this process. The leadership recruitment process is flawed. The politics is not giving opportunity for those who really want to serve. There's a difference between somebody who wants to serve and somebody who wants to be on top. I want to be president. I want to be governor. It's different from somebody who says, I want to serve as a president. And what can give you that kind of separation between these two is like we are complaining. We are at a point in time in our history where our economy is at the lowest ebb. Okay? We are using close to 90-something% of all the revenue we make at the federal level to service debts. So all the money we are paying as salaries, as capital projects, as overhead, are borrowed money. And on top of that, you come in, and the most important thing for you is that 469 people will go and use 160 million naira each to procure SUVs. And then the president replicates the same in his supplementary budget for himself. He asks for another set of SUVs for his wife, which is unconstitutional and illegal because that's not an office recognized by the law. So when you put these things together, that shows you the difference between somebody who came out to serve and somebody who says, I want to be president.
Do you think that is part of that is at the heart of the problem, that politicians in Nigeria don't see their responsibility as service
yes.
to the people?
They see it as a very flashy office, a very big position of power.
It's a status symbol.
Yes, so I stay here, not just that alone, and the resources attached to that office on which you should manage on behalf of the people, I can decide to manage it anyhow. And unfortunately for us, consequences have been removed from malfeasance, misdemeanors, and felonies. Even if the allocation to a state comes in and let's say it's 5 billion, the governor can start by putting 2.5 billion away for himself and says the state should manage with the others. And the way we are going these days, nobody will effectively recover the money from him or prosecute him. People before him have done that. So he learns from them and he just gets into power to make more money, not really to serve. And this is all over from the presidency to the governors. You can hardly count a few governors, a few persons in power who you can say are different from the others. Look at even the joke about the senators and the legislators. People were expecting, some legislators from a certain party were going to say, no, we reject. Everybody take this car, or I wouldn't take. But everybody quietly took his car, the 160 million machine, and everybody is happy. And those of us complaining don't understand. We are, according to them, we don't understand. When we grow up like them, maybe
right.
we'll understand.
And I suppose, even within the funny component in that is that you get a sense that, listen, as much as Nigerians are aware of these moral gaps, these deficiencies in the leadership quality, Dr. Hamisu, it's as if everybody's just trying to move on with their lives. It's almost as if you don't get the sense that the citizens feel the need to speak about it, because this sort of phenomenon has been normalized. Why is that?
Well, thank you so very much. I don't want to blame Nigerian citizens for not taking action. I know people like Eze and others that we work together with are always at the forefront of educating Nigerians on what needs to be done. I want to cite a particular case that will open our minds to how elaborate the corruption scheme is in Nigeria. It's so elaborate with demand and supply function, to the extent that if you are not careful, you that say you are fighting corruption, you end up being jailed for life. I remember a friend that has been at the forefront of corruption. And when the government of President Muhammadu Buhari came on board, there was this whistleblowing policy. You see something, say something. And the young man felt he has uncovered some corruptions in some certain institution, and then he went to Blue Whistle. At the end of the day, he was arraigned for possessing official document that he was not supposed to handle. By that particular arraignment, he was charged for unauthorized access to public document, and he was sentenced. Now, tell me, if I'm his very close friend, if I'm his wife or brother, are you telling me that tomorrow I will see anything and say anything? I will not. So this is the problem we're having in Nigeria. It is a problem of an incorporated corruption that is elaborate, that used to protect itself. So you have information about something that is bad that is happening, you report, you become a victim. Let us even come down to road accident. There was a time in Nigeria that if somebody is involved in an accident, all you can do is to sympathize with the person. Because if you take the person to the hospital, the person becomes your burden. First, they will ask you to go and get police report. When you get to police, it becomes a problem for you. Somebody sustained gunshot for robbery incident, and they are saying that you should provide security report before the person is treated. And if you venture to assist the person, then you are in trouble, because the police will even tell you that you are the first suspect. So this is a situation we find ourselves. The situation has not really assisted anybody to be able to say anything, because if you try to say, then the table is turned against you. if we really want to move forward, we must be able to accept our reality to say that we have a problem. And how do we solve the problem? We need the people to solve the problem. I give an instance. In China, there is a newspaper that is known as People's Daily. This People's Daily is connected to government. It is run by government, for government, and for the citizens. So most of the policies of government, their impact, negative or positive, are reported on People's Daily, and that is why it's known as People's Daily. So government officials usually check out the People's Daily for information concerning what is happening in China, how government policies are making impact on the people, and then remediation actions are needed to be taken. And this is a society that is open to itself, that want to better itself, that want to listen to the voices of the people. But in our own case, we try to even suppress the voices of the people. Even if when there are crises, 10 persons are killed, the state will come and tell you that 2 are killed. And then they will tell you that there was tension. Until we embrace the culture of openness, of truth-seeking, of actions that are beneficial to the people. And this has a direct bearing with the mindset of the people that are governing us. As we said, Eze alluded to that fact, I've even said it earlier on, the primary push to go into government is not really to serve the people. The people, the service to the people is just secondary. The primary thing is to have access to office, to have access to resources, to have access to luxury life. And that is why by the time they get to offices in other countries, smaller countries in Africa, by the time anybody gets to office and they want to work, they reject luxuries. They reject luxuries. And when Thomas Sankara wanted to build Burkina Faso, what did he do? He rejected expensive cars for the North and said, well, we don't have the money to buy such luxury cars. To start with, that will tell the people that you are serious. But by the time you come into office, you are used to fly economy before. Now you are taking private jet and you are telling me that your state is poor, that you should approve loans for you. Lee Kuan Yew said it in his book From Third World to First. He said he's always baffled that as a medium income country, he flies economy to world event, but that third world countries like Nigeria and other African countries that are coming to beg the European counterpart for debt relief, for debt and other things, come in chartered flight, some private jet with limousines and Cadillacs. These are luxury things. And then the Europeans that would say to themselves, look at the people that are coming from poor countries. We fly economy, and then you guys are coming with private jet or chartered jet, and then you want us to grant you. So our actions are not always consistent with our beliefs and the principles that we set to achieve. And that is why governance is failing in Nigeria. And that is why you can't see any tangible thing on the ground. Because okay, go to some government houses now. The governors are building new government houses because the old government houses, as far as they're concerned, is not up to their taste and standards. So what they cannot even enjoy in their private lives is what they want to enjoy in government house. And you want to see development in those states? No, it won't happen. Right. It won't. Because substantial amount of the money is being deployed to servicing the interests of those that are supposed to provide us with leadership at a minimal cost.
Right. And in talking about how this trend is growing, what do we need to do to nip it in the bud? For some people, it brings us back to the conversation around restructuring Nigeria. The federal system makes it so difficult for some of these low-income states to, independently generate enough revenue so that they can develop their state, so that they can develop those rural communities, they can develop their infrastructure, their education, their healthcare, and so on and so forth. We do get that some of it is also individual, that you have people who don't feel like they're in service to their state. But give me a sense of how we can course correct this situation by making the states much more resourceful, that they can, attend to these challenges on their own without necessarily needing the federal allocation as they appear to do now.
No, I don't want to blame this on the federal structure. The fact that a man claims he wants to serve when he knows he does not want to serve. He only needs access to power, to money, to fame, and to the status. So it is for the electorate in these states to begin to take responsibility, because votes have a consequence. Every vote you cast, whether you were deceived to cast the vote in the name of tribe, religion, social status, or whatever discriminatory factors, without looking at the character and quality of the person. Where is this man coming from? He's been a billionaire, he's been a millionaire. How has he related with the people in the past? Not necessarily whether he has built, done what appears to be philanthropic. What is the basis of his character? How did he make his money? These are questions people need to ask, and then cast their votes according to their conscience and conviction that this man or this woman, if we give him power, he will do A, B, C, D. Now, I'll tell you something. Between 1979 and 1983, during the Second Republic, the airport you see in Owerri was not constructed by the federal government. It was not constructed even by the Imo State government funds. Mbakwe mobilized people in Imo State, the late Samuel Mbakwe, and the communities contributed. People were collecting money. The churches, the bishops supported him, said, we need an airport. The money was collected in the villages. The money was even collected in the churches and brought together, and there was a committee, and they built it. The state government money per se in that airport was very little. When it was finished, they called it Igwebike. Igwebike means their strength in numbers. It was a community-built airport. And I'm telling you that more things of that nature can happen. Why did it happen? Because it was clear to everybody in the old Imo State that Desamon Bako will not steal your one kobo. He will rather put his own time and money. People believed in him to the extent that the bishops of the churches were in the churches supporting him and telling people to donate. And he made them the trustees and custodians to say, manage this money and report back on the people. So, but tell me any governor today that will call the people to come and pay any money, any levy, which is not by force, and the people will agree and start in their villages, women and men contributing. It won't happen, because the people believe that the governor has not even accounted for the statutory allocation. So this little I have. Mbakwe also built the first independent power station at Amarako. Before these issues of IPP and stories, or it was virtually the cleanest state. He had a solo. So what I'm saying is that it is the quality of leadership, the quality of governance you had. At least as a small boy, I witnessed these things that tells you how this person will behave. So it's not about the federal structure. The federal structure has always been there, but it is about the quality of leadership being thrown up.
And in talking about a solution, as we begin to wrap up the conversation, Dr. Hamisu, what is your reading of whether this phenomenon is trying to perhaps change? Because there used to be one or two governors that will be pointed out as Abuja-based governors, as people like to call them. But now it seems to me that the number is growing largely because the issues, the myriad of challenges that we've highlighted over the past couple of minutes are evidently making it easier for them to decide to stay more in Abuja than their state capitals, because insecurity has become an issue that is, rearing its heads on a daily basis, on a regular basis, and I suppose they'll rather not deal with those issues on a daily basis. What is your take on how this situation or phenomenon is becoming a lot more prevalent now as we elect more leaders who apparently rely heavily on resources available here in Abuja to run their state?
Well, thank you for your question. Let me begin by saying that if you are a leader and you have a sense of responsibility, you have a sense of propriety, and you know that you will be accountable to God if you are more than the people you are leading, then you need to serve your people. A leader is not somebody that absconded because there are challenges. A leader is somebody that takes charge when there are challenges. And the person is willing to be at the forefront, is willing to stake all. And there is a governor that usually leads, despite his state is the most devastated in terms of insecurity and the impact of insurgency. And he said he is doing all that he is doing because he's afraid to face God, having failed his people that repose enormous confidence in him. This is responsible leader. This is responsible leadership, a leader that is thinking. So first of all, if you want to lead, you should know that leadership is not a tea party. It's not a sort of Owambe. That leadership is about sweating it out to achieve result, to please the people, to change their condition. And you cannot change a people's condition if you don't sit with them, if you don't joke with them, if you don't banter with them, and then to frankly assess issues and equally move together to collectively address those issues. So first of all, is accepting the responsibility as it is, that the fame usually comes with its own cost. But we live in an environment where we are driven by our own individual interests to the extent that we don't care about the interests of the collective. So people are assisting some of these governors to normalize some of this absurdity because their interests are taken care of. And that is why it is important for us to hold these leaders accountable, if not now, during elections, to make sure that such leaders do not find themselves back to power if they do not have a solid arrangement that is delivering services to the people, that is tackling insecurity headlong, that is fighting poverty every day, that is restoring hope to the hopeless. So it is a collective responsibility. We need to just fight this because it's an aberration. It's not supposed to be allowed because the people are the ultimate losers when you have absentee governors that are not available and cannot be accessible.
Right, and just to get your thoughts on the element of accessibility. I mean, we talk about Nigeria being the second most religious country. I think there's this latest ranking that put Nigeria second, and we all know how Nigerians take their religion rather seriously, whether it's Islam or Christianity. And you juxtapose that with, the life of the prophets, for instance, and how easily accessible they are with their disciples, with their followers, right? But you don't see that in Nigeria today. I mean, governors are hard to reach people, even for people in their administration. But also, what does that mean for the masses, that they cannot have some sort of relationship in terms of accessibility, in terms of seeing their governors on not on a daily basis, but regularly? And what is the cost of that, in terms of, the trust deficit that you talk about and that lack of connection between the leaders and the people?
Unfortunately, we live in a world of different teachings where you have different persons that are teaching different things that we read from books. As a Muslim, I have the Prophet as my model and a yardstick to assess myself in terms of delivering governance. But again, you have other teachings that teach you how to survive in power. So much so that people have imbibed those teachings despite it is clashing with their faith. As you said, that is just the reality. Some other persons are not granted access to the governor because the governor sees them as a pest. We've worked in organizations that because of your insistence that the right things must be done, you are sidelined. You are not even allowed to attend meetings. Even if you attend meetings, you are not allowed to make any contribution. They see you as a problem. They cannot sack you because you are one of the few persons that is giving the government positive image. But again, nothing will pass to the governor that will be approved because you will not bring returns. So they only approve some contract for some boys that will bring reforms and the returns. And these boys are the face of the governor. They will tell you if you want anything done, you need to see so person because it's the closest to the governor. Oh, it's not supposed to be so. You invited me to come and assist you to work. And I need to work so that I can justify my presence in the government. But in a situation whereby you are not giving me access, you are not approving my memo, you are not approving my proposal, and then I decided to hang on because of the salary, because of the fame that it has brought to me. Some of these things are what is keeping some guys in government that they don't want to really call it a quit, but they are not finding it easy. They cannot access the governor, and then you write several memo, they'll just keep it in view, no explanation, and then you only convince yourself that I've done my best by writing proposals and memos. So for me, if we really want to get things right as a Christian, what did Jesus Christ did? The miracle that the miracle of the fish, that he was able to pray from, I think, 2 fishes, and then there are multitude of fish for people to eat. This to tell you about a leader that cares, not a leader that is selfish. Prophet Muhammad, we all know what he stands for and how accessible he was, and because any leadership that is not accessible is not a leader, because a leader is a problem solver. A leader is supposed to be a shoulder that people can lean on, that will assuage people's thirst, that will quench their hunger, that will address their anxiety and make them to go to sleep. So if you are a leader and then your state is devastated and you started to run to Abuja, so what are you telling the people? They should all take to their ears and run away from the state. And if they run away from the state, who will be left for you to govern? And that is why it is equally important for a leader to remain with the people, because leadership is supposed to inspire the people to do the positives. And then if you do the negative, then the people too will do the negative. Your presence will stop a lot of things. And that is why we are saying that you must remain with your people. We're not saying don't even travel out of Abuja, because you cannot leave the state to people that are not even honest in the first place. And you know it, that the people that you've appointed, majority of them are not honest, and they will never be honest. So you needed to be on ground to such things.
Okay. On the same question of accessibility, I mean, people you talk to on a regular basis, the moment they get into power, they become inaccessible. Give me a sense of how that in itself does not help add value to our, leadership process, because the developed climes, democracies that we always like to draw examples from, they have, from the Congress, for instance, whether it's in the Senate or in the House of Representatives, you have town hall meetings where constituents can directly talk to their representatives, not during campaigns or, party rallies, but when they're in office, they can walk up to their offices, demand for audience, and then they're scheduled time to do that. But I don't think we have anything like that in Nigeria, whether regarding governors or even lawmakers. So give me a sense of what you think that issue of accessibility, is costing us in government.
Today we have what I call leadership capture. You see, you appoint commissioners or ministers and SAs. They cocoon you within the State House or within the Chartered Aircrafts and wherever you live to go. So you don't have access to the people who actually put you there in the first place. So you are disconnected from their real life situation, how they feel, what they see, and what they go through. So once you are disconnected, you will no longer feel their pulse. And so you don't know their problem, and therefore you cannot solve that problem. You will only be hearing the voices of what I call the Hosanna choir. The choir that tells you it is well. You are the greatest thing that has happened to the state since its creation. You are this or that. You wouldn't get to hear those who will tell you, sir, A is wrong, B is wrong, fix C. And what it costs you is that you can never deliver good governance. All right? If you are cocooned, you are no longer feeling the pulse of the people. You don't go on town hall meetings to see those poorest of the poor you met during campaigns. Then there is no way you can solve my problem if you don't know it. And you are the advisor, and all you report to me is that everybody is well fed, everybody is okay, nobody is sick. You remember during Buhari's tenure, there was this Minister of Humanitarian Affairs who wrote a report claiming he was feeding virtually all Nigerian children during the time everybody was on lockdown. Okay? And if you are a president, you have no way of verifying. And that kind of report comes to your table. And all the ministers and so says, yes, madam is right. You take it not knowing that if you get to the streets, people are likely to stone you because they are very angry and hungry. So it is costing us on the quality of governance being delivered. And that's why a leader must find another means outside of his advisors, ministers, commissioners to go and hear from the other side, because these people can always come together and all they sing to you that it is well. everybody is happy. You are the best thing that has happened to the state or the country since its creation.
Well, unfortunately, we're going to have to leave it here, but this is one conversation that needs to continue, obviously, because as long as this phenomenon or trend continues, we're going to have to put a spotlight on it and the cost, as well as the implication on the lives of Nigeria and indeed in the lives of Nigerians who are affected by this particular phenomenon. Barrister Eze, thank you so much for joining us on the program. We really appreciate your analysis and your point of view regarding this conversation. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, and thank you.